Ah, the famous spirit, you may think of it as some lofty, extraordinary thing. Something reserved for the few, the exceptional, the stars who shine so brightly they leave the rest of us in the shadows. But here's the twist: that spirit, that essence you're chasing, is already within you. Not hidden away, waiting to be uncovered like some buried treasure, but here, right now, in every breath you take, in every step you make. Every individual carries within them a unique light, an essence that is utterly their own. This brilliance isn't something you need to earn or prove, it's a birthright, a natural state of being. Often we fail to see it, not because it isn't there, but because we've been taught to look elsewhere for value. We search for validation in accolades, in comparisons, in the fleeting opinions of others, all the while overlooking the quiet, radiant truth of our own existence. Imagine the sun doubting its ability to shine because it isn't as cool as the moon or as distant as the stars. It's absurd, isn't it? The sun simply shines because that is its nature. Similarly, your brilliance isn't about being better than someone else or fitting into a predefined mold. It's about expressing the pure, unfiltered essence of who you are. This recognition doesn't come from external achievements, but from a shift in perception. It's realizing that the same force that moves the tides, grows the trees, and lights the stars is also coursing through you. You are not separate from the beauty and magnificence of the universe. You are part of it, woven into its very fabric. The challenge is not to create brilliance, but to clear away the layers of doubt, fear, and societal conditioning that obscure it. It's about remembering, not inventing. When you see yourself for what you truly are, a unique and irreplaceable expression of life, you naturally begin to radiate confidence and authenticity. We live in a world that constantly urges us to compare ourselves to others. From social media feeds to the pressures of career and status, we are conditioned to measure our worth against someone else's accomplishments, appearance, or success. But the moment we fall into this trap, we lose sight of something far more profound: the uniqueness of our own journey. Comparison distorts our perception of ourselves and ties our sense of value to things that are outside our control. When we compare, we forget that each person's path is completely different, shaped by their own experiences, challenges, and gifts. Comparing your inner world to someone else's outward appearance is like trying to judge a tree's growth by looking at another tree's fruit. It doesn't make sense. We all bloom in our own time and in our own way. True self-realization comes when we begin to release the need to measure ourselves against others and start to measure ourselves by our own standards. The process involves recognizing that the essence of who we are is not defined by the validation of others or by competing for external recognition. Instead, we begin to find value in our own experience, understanding that it is just as meaningful as anyone else's. This shift in perspective is liberating. When we stop measuring our worth against external markers, we start to reconnect with what truly matters: the authenticity of our own being. We realize that the gift we have to offer the world is uniquely ours, not because we're better or worse than anyone else, but because we are truly ourselves. Self-realization is about going deeper than the surface, beyond the labels and roles society places on us. It's a recognition of our inherent worth that doesn't come from comparison, but from an internal understanding that we are enough as we are. When we embrace this, we are freed from the chains of comparison and can finally live fully, expressing our truth without fear or hesitation. The present moment is all we truly have, yet it's so easy to overlook it, distracted by the past or the future. Our minds tend to live in either of those realms, replaying old conversations, regrets, and victories, or anxiously anticipating what's next. But the present, the only moment where life is truly happening, often slips by unnoticed, because we are too busy thinking of what has been or what might be. Living in the present isn't about rejecting the past or ignoring the future. It's about recognizing that the only moment where your existence truly matters is now. Every breath you take, every heartbeat, is occurring in the present. The memories you cherish, the plans you make, they can only live within the context of the present moment. When you're fully engaged with the here and now, you realize how rich and alive this moment really is. Consider how often we miss the beauty of life because we're not paying attention. A conversation becomes background noise when we're distracted by our phones or our thoughts. A meal loses its flavor when we're too busy planning our next task. But when we fully step into the present, everything becomes more vibrant, more real. The world opens up as if for the first time, and you see things with fresh eyes. The air feels crisper, the colors brighter, and the people you interact with seem more significant. Living in the present is a form of freedom. It means you are no longer shackled to the past, no longer endlessly speculating about the future. You are free to experience life as it comes, without the burden of what was or the pressure of what will be. It allows you to act with clarity, to respond to what's in front of you with authenticity, without the distortion of past experiences or future fears. The more you embrace the present, the more you realize how much life you've been missing while your mind wandered. You realize that life isn't something to be chased or caught, it's something to be lived right now in this very moment, where the potential for joy, understanding, and connection is endless. Expression is at the core of our being, an outpouring of our thoughts, emotions, and experiences. Yet so often we hold back, curbing our natural impulses because of the fear of judgment. We wonder, what will they think of me? Am I good enough? Am I worthy of being seen? This fear of judgment can paralyze us, turning our most authentic selves into a shadow of what could be. But what if, just for a moment, you were able to step beyond that fear? What if you could speak, create, and act from the place of pure honesty, without worrying about how your expression would be received by others? Imagine how freeing that would be, no longer crafting your words or your actions to fit into a mold of external expectations. Just pure, unfiltered expression, unfolding in its own unique form. We all have a deep-seated desire for approval, to be liked, to be accepted. It's natural, but when we base our self-worth on the judgments of others, we relinquish our power. We place our happiness, our freedom, in the hands of others, making ourselves dependent on their approval. And in doing so, we lose the ability to fully be ourselves. We start to suppress parts of us, molding ourselves to fit an image or role that doesn't resonate with who we truly are. What would happen if you stopped looking for validation from the outside and instead turned inward, trusting in your own voice, your own instinct? When you express from this place of internal confidence, you stop being afraid of what others might think, because you realize that your expression is yours, it belongs to no one else. You are free to speak your truth, share your ideas, and create without fear, because you know that your worth isn't contingent on anyone's approval. The paradox is this: when you express authentically without concern for judgment, you connect more deeply with others. People are drawn to authenticity, not perfection. When you let go of the fear of judgment, you become a more genuine version of yourself, and that in turn becomes magnetic. You invite others to do the same, creating an environment where people are free to show up as who they truly are. The fear of judgment is a phantom, an illusion that dissipates the moment you stop allowing it to control you. When you express without fear, you tap into a deep well of creativity, joy, and freedom. You become an instrument of life, allowing yourself to flow with whatever arises, unencumbered by the weight of others' opinions. And in that freedom, your true spirit shines, as vibrant and powerful as it was always meant to be. In a world that constantly celebrates achievement, productivity, and doing, it's easy to fall into the trap of believing that our value is measured by what we accomplish. We are conditioned to think that we must constantly be moving, achieving, striving for the next milestone. But in this relentless pursuit of external success, we often forget that our essence, our true nature, isn't tied to what we do, but to who we are. To focus on being rather than doing means shifting from the mindset that your worth is found in tasks completed, goals reached, or titles earned. Instead, it's about understanding that you are worthy simply by existing, by being present in the moment, by fully embracing who you are in the here and now. The moment you begin to grasp this truth, the pressure to do dissipates, and life becomes less about achieving and more about experiencing. Consider the idea that the world is full of people who are always busy, always striving, always running from one task to the next. But in this constant motion, they may miss the simple, beautiful moments of feeling the warmth of the sun, savoring a quiet cup of tea, experiencing the flow of a conversation without thinking about the next thing they need to do. The doing distracts them from the richness of life that is unfolding all around them. When we focus solely on doing, we disconnect from the present, from the full experience of life as it is happening. By focusing on being, you allow yourself to exist without the need to prove anything or accomplish anything. It's a state of presence, where you simply allow yourself to experience life, rather than constantly measuring it against a list of to-dos. This doesn't mean abandoning action or goals, but rather shifting the focus from doing to being. In this state, doing flows more naturally, without the strain and anxiety that often comes from doing things just for the sake of achievement. When you live from the place of being, you come into harmony with yourself. You stop looking for external validation or external goals to fulfill you, because you realize that fulfillment is already here, in the act of simply being. It's the realization that the most profound moments of life are not in the big accomplishments, but in the quiet moments of connection with yourself and with others. Being doesn't mean passivity or stagnation, rather, it's an embrace of the present moment, a receptiveness to what life is offering. In this state, your actions are no longer driven by a need to prove yourself or fill a gap, but are instead an expression of your authentic self. There's a freedom in simply being. You are free to exist without the pressure of constantly doing, free to experience life as it is, unburdened by the weight of expectations. This is where true peace and fulfillment reside. We are often taught from an early age that success is something to be achieved, something tangible, something you can measure. Goals become the markers by which we define our worth, our progress, our future. We set them in the hope that reaching them will bring us fulfillment, satisfaction, and happiness. But what happens when we reach those goals and still feel empty, still searching for something more? The truth is, when we base our sense of self on external goals, we tether our happiness to an illusion, something fleeting, something that can always be out of reach. Letting go of external goals is not about abandoning ambition or losing a sense of direction. It's about recognizing that happiness, fulfillment, and peace do not reside in the completion of these goals, but in the journey itself, in the process of living. The constant chase for external markers of success often distracts us from the richness of the moment. We become so consumed by the future, by what we need to achieve next, that we fail to fully live in the present. When we tie our self-worth to external goals, we are handing over our power to things outside of us, things that can be uncertain or uncontrollable. Goals are often shaped by external influences: society, family, peers, creating expectations that may not even align with our true desires. What if, instead of pursuing goals because we're told we should, we focused on goals that are aligned with our deepest values, our authentic selves? The shift happens when we release the need to live up to others' definitions of success and start defining our own path. Letting go of external goals means freeing yourself from the trap of comparison. It's not about what someone else has accomplished or what others expect from you. It's about what feels right to you, what resonates with your soul. When you stop looking outward for validation and focus inward, you start living life for you, not for anyone else's approval. Your sense of self becomes less about what you've done and more about who you are. When you relinquish the need for external goals, you begin to embrace life in a more fluid and organic way. You become open to what each moment offers without trying to force things to unfold according to your plan. Instead of clinging to a rigid idea of success, you allow space for the unexpected, for the possibilities that might arise beyond what you've imagined. In this way, you release the anxiety that comes with goal setting, trusting that life will unfold as it should, without needing to control every outcome. This doesn't mean you stop striving or lose your sense of direction. It means you start to find joy in the process itself, in the act of creation, in the daily unfolding of life. You realize that the goals you've set are not the final destination, but part of a much larger, richer journey. The fulfillment doesn't come from the achievement itself, but from the presence you bring to the pursuit, from the deep satisfaction of living in alignment with your true self. There is a natural, innate joy that exists within all of us, a playfulness that is often stifled by the weight of responsibility, the pressure of deadlines, and the serious nature of adult life. As children, we are naturally curious, spontaneous, and full of wonder. We see the world as a playground, and every moment is an opportunity for discovery, adventure, and laughter. But somewhere along the way, we lose touch with that lightheartedness. We become so focused on achieving, on doing things the right way, that we forget the simple joy that comes from just being, from embracing the freedom of play. To tap into joy and playfulness is to reconnect with that essence. It's about allowing ourselves to experience life without the heavy burden of expectations, to engage in activities not for any goal or outcome, but for the sheer delight of the experience itself. It's about taking yourself less seriously and embracing the spontaneous, unpredictable moments that arise. When we let go of the rigid structures that often govern our lives, we open up to the flow of joy that is already present, waiting to be noticed. Playfulness isn't just about having fun, it's a mindset. It's the ability to approach life with curiosity, to see challenges as opportunities for creative expression, and to enjoy the process rather than focusing solely on the result. When we approach life playfully, we are free from the anxiety of perfection. We stop trying to control every aspect and instead allow ourselves to be surprised by the beauty of unpredictability. Play brings us into the present moment, allowing us to engage fully with what is happening right now, without being weighed down by past failures or future worries. Sometimes tapping into joy means doing something silly, something unexpected. It might be dancing in the rain, laughing at something that makes no sense at all, or taking a walk with no particular destination in mind. These seemingly small acts of play bring us back to our most authentic selves, reminding us that life is meant to be experienced with a sense of wonder and delight. In those moments, we remember that life is not all about structure, responsibility, or achievement. It's about the simple pleasures, the unplanned moments that spark joy in our hearts. When we embrace playfulness, we also open ourselves to creativity. Play is where imagination thrives, where new ideas are born, and where we begin to see the world through a different lens. It breaks down barriers, allowing us to approach life with a sense of fluidity, adaptability, and openness. In those moments of joyful freedom, we create space for new possibilities to emerge, for new ways of thinking and being. Playfulness invites us to explore, to experiment, to take risks, and to laugh at ourselves along the way. By tapping into joy and playfulness, we bring lightness back into our lives. We let go of the constant need to be serious or productive and allow ourselves to just be, to enjoy the ride, to find beauty in the little moments, and to experience life with a sense of childlike wonder. In doing so, we reconnect with the true spirit of life, where every moment has the potential for joy, creativity, and deep fulfillment. At the core of our being, we are deeply interconnected with everything around us, the people, the environment, the animals, and the very planet itself. For much of our lives, we experience a sense of separation, a belief that we are individual entities navigating a world full of distinct, unrelated parts. This sense of separateness creates barriers between us and the world, making us feel isolated, disconnected, and sometimes even powerless. But the truth is that we are all part of a larger whole, intricately woven together in ways that we often fail to see or appreciate. To understand our interconnectedness is to recognize that our existence is not isolated. Every breath we take is part of a larger, continuous exchange of energy. The air we breathe, the food we eat, the people we encounter, these are all threads in the intricate web of life that support us and shape our experience. Our actions ripple outward, touching others in ways we might not immediately see, and in turn, the actions of others shape our world in ways we cannot fully comprehend. We are not isolated beings moving through life independently. We are deeply interwoven with everything around us. This realization can shift the way we see ourselves and our relationships with others. When we truly understand that we are part of a larger web of existence, it becomes impossible to view others as separate or lesser. The person sitting next to you, the stranger on the street, even the plants and animals, they are all part of this same web. This recognition invites a deep sense of empathy and compassion, as we begin to see that the suffering or joy of one affects the whole. When we hurt others, we hurt ourselves, and when we lift others up, we lift ourselves as well. There is no other in the true sense, only extensions of the same life force. Understanding our interconnectedness also helps us make peace with the fact that we are not in control of everything. The world is constantly changing, and our influence is limited in many ways. Yet this is not something to fear, but rather something to embrace. The interconnected nature of existence means that everything unfolds in a delicate balance. There is a natural flow to life, and when we stop resisting it, we can begin to move with it, like a river flowing with the current, instead of against it. In understanding this interconnectedness, we also realize that we are not separate from nature. We are part of the ecosystem, not its masters. The trees, the oceans, the animals, they are not out there for our use or exploitation. They are our partners in this shared existence. When we harm the environment, we harm ourselves, and when we protect and honor the natural world, we honor our own well-being. Every small action we take, every choice we make, has an impact on this greater web of life. Our responsibility is not just to ourselves, but to the entire system that sustains us. The more we embrace this interconnectedness, the more we realize that our individual journey is part of a collective one. Our growth, our challenges, and our triumphs are not ours alone, but are intimately tied to the experiences of those around us. When we step outside of the illusion of separateness, we begin to see that every life is a reflection of the other, that we are all expressions of the same cosmic energy. This understanding transforms the way we approach our daily lives, fostering a deeper sense of gratitude, humility, and respect for all beings in the world we share. Imperfection is a natural part of life, yet we often resist it, striving for an idealized version of ourselves, our work, and our experiences. We are conditioned to believe that perfection is the goal, that only through flawless execution can we achieve success, happiness, or approval. But this pursuit of perfection often leads to frustration, self-criticism, and an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. We begin to believe that anything less than perfect is not good enough, and in doing so, we create barriers to truly experiencing life. The truth is, imperfection is not something to be feared or avoided, it is something to be embraced. It is what makes us human, what connects us to the messy, unpredictable, and beautiful nature of existence. Imperfection allows for growth, creativity, and spontaneity. It is in the flawed, unfinished, and evolving parts of ourselves and our lives that true beauty often resides. Think about the works of art that have moved you deeply. Are they flawless? Or are they made powerful by the imperfections that give them character, depth, and authenticity? When we embrace imperfection, we let go of the pressure to be perfect and instead allow ourselves to be real. This means accepting the parts of ourselves that we often hide, the flaws, the mistakes, the uncertainties. We stop pretending to have everything figured out, and instead we allow ourselves to be vulnerable. This vulnerability is not a weakness but a strength. It is in showing our true selves, imperfections and all, that we invite connection, compassion, and understanding. We realize that nobody is perfect, and that's what makes us relatable and human. Imperfection also opens the door to creativity. When we free ourselves from the need to be perfect, we allow room for experimentation, for trial and error. We begin to approach life with curiosity, playfulness, and openness, knowing that mistakes are not failures but opportunities to learn and evolve. The pursuit of perfection stifles creativity because it creates fear around taking risks. But when we embrace imperfection, we can create freely, knowing that the process is just as important as the outcome. It's in the messiness of creation that new ideas and breakthroughs often emerge. In accepting imperfection, we also let go of the need for external validation. We stop measuring our worth by the standards of others and begin to find value in our own unique expression. When we embrace who we are, flaws and all, we become more authentic, and authenticity is magnetic. People are drawn to realness, to those who are unapologetically themselves. Perfection, on the other hand, can create distance and alienation, as it suggests an unattainable ideal. But imperfection allows us to be present in our raw, unpolished state, and in doing so, we invite others to do the same. Life itself is imperfect. It is filled with contradictions, uncertainties, and unexpected twists. To resist this is to fight against the very nature of existence. But when we embrace imperfection, we align ourselves with the flow of life. We accept the ebb and flow of joy and sorrow, success and failure, clarity and confusion. We stop clinging to unrealistic standards and start appreciating the richness of life as it is beautifully imperfect. By letting go of the need for perfection, we begin to experience life more fully with greater ease and joy. We accept ourselves as we are, knowing that we are enough, and that it is through our imperfections that we are most alive. Imperfection is not a limitation, it is the doorway to deeper connection, creativity, and understanding. It is the very thing that makes life worth living. Life is an ever-changing, unpredictable current, constantly flowing, evolving, and shifting in ways we cannot always anticipate or control. It's easy to become attached to certain outcomes, to set rigid plans and timelines, and to believe that if we push hard enough, we can force things to happen exactly as we envision. But the more we try to control the flow of life, the more we resist its natural rhythm, often causing frustration and exhaustion. The key to peace and fulfillment lies not in control, but in trusting the flow of life, surrendering to its ebb and flow, and allowing ourselves to move with it. Trusting the flow of life means recognizing that not everything is meant to unfold according to our desires or timelines. It is about understanding that life has a natural order, a rhythm, and that everything happens for a reason, even when we can't immediately understand why. Just as a river winds its way through the landscape, sometimes swiftly and sometimes slowly, life carries us along in its currents, guiding us to where we need to be, even if the path seems uncertain. When we trust the flow of life, we learn to let go of the need for control. We stop clinging to the past or obsessing over the future, and instead we embrace the present moment as it is. Life becomes less about striving and more about being. We begin to see that the struggles and challenges are not obstacles to our happiness, but integral parts of the process, helping to shape us and refine us. The flow of life may take us through calm waters and turbulent ones, but each phase brings with it valuable lessons and growth. Surrendering to the flow doesn't mean passivity. It means releasing resistance and opening ourselves up to the possibilities that each moment offers. It is the art of going with the grain rather than against it, allowing ourselves to be guided by intuition, instinct, and the natural unfolding of events. When we trust the flow of life, we start to feel a sense of ease, as though we are no longer fighting against the current, but instead moving with it. We begin to feel a deeper sense of connection with the world around us, as though we are part of a larger, harmonious system. The paradox is that when we stop trying to control everything, things often begin to fall into place more effortlessly. Doors open when we least expect them, opportunities arise in the most unexpected places, and people enter our lives at just the right time. This is because when we are not trying to force outcomes, we make space for new possibilities to emerge, for life to present us with what we truly need. The more we trust the flow, the more we align ourselves with the natural rhythm of life, allowing us to experience a sense of synchronicity and connection. At the heart of trusting the flow of life is a deep sense of faith. Faith that things will work out, even if we don't know how or when. Faith that the universe or life itself is guiding us, even in moments of uncertainty. This trust is rooted in the understanding that life is not something to be feared or controlled, but something to be embraced with open arms in all its unpredictability and mystery. The flow of life is not something we can manipulate, but it is something we can learn to dance with grace and confidence. When we trust the flow, we also begin to understand that everything happens in its own time. The timing of our lives, the timing of our success, the timing of our relationships, everything unfolds when it is meant to. Patience becomes an act of trust. Instead of forcing, we learn to allow. Instead of rushing, we learn to wait with a sense of calm and acceptance. Life has its own pace, and when we stop trying to hurry it along, we can begin to enjoy the journey. In the end, trusting the flow of life is about relinquishing the need for certainty and embracing the beauty of uncertainty. It is about letting go of the need for answers and learning to be comfortable in the questions. When we trust the flow, we are open to the unfolding of our lives in ways that surprise and delight us. And we realize that life, in all its unpredictability, is the greatest adventure of all. In embracing the flow of life, we come to realize that the greatest gift is not in the destination or the outcomes, but in the journey itself. By trusting the natural rhythm of existence, we let go of the need for control and open ourselves up to the richness of each moment. When we allow ourselves to simply be, to embrace imperfection, to honor our interconnectedness, and to move with life rather than against it, we find peace, fulfillment, and true joy. Life is not something to conquer or master, it is a flow to be experienced, a dance to be enjoyed, and a mystery to be cherished. Trusting the flow is the key to unlocking a deeper sense of meaning, connection, and harmony within ourselves and the world around us.